Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode here of Solitaire Gems. Guys, I have missed you. I do apologize for my absence. As I mentioned last time, I am working out the schedule of what this is going to look like, but I know we still want to at least do it twice a month so I can share with you the information and the nuggets that God keeps giving me, those wonderful gems. If you're just joining me, let me go ahead and start by introducing myself. My name is Jacinta Martin. I am the creator of a blog called Fruitful Gems. I'm also the creator of our podcast, Polished Gems, and which is exclusively available on Patreon, and also this YouTube channel, which is where I share twice a month one nugget, one gem with you, just to help I encourage you along your journey as well. So, as you can tell by tonight's topic, we're talking about whose are you? Learning your identity. Let's learn our identity. So, that's what we'll be talking tonight on Solitaire Gems. I'm going to share one gem with you about that. We're going to be learning your identity through the perspective of whose you are. Again, that's learning your identity through the perspective of whose you are. So, for those who may or may not know me, I teach people how to rebuild and heal to become whole in their identity, which consists of their mind, body, and spirit, by using the 9 fruits of God's Spirit. The reason why I do this is because God did it for me. He helped me to become whole in my identity, to heal in my identity, and even rebuild it. So I enjoy teaching the method that He gave me and the way that He gave it to me. And I've also been blogging since 2016 and am a two-time author of 2 different books. One is a novel called The Fragmented Soul, and the other is a devotional called From Faith to Faith, a 45 days devotional. I also happen to be a mom of 2 and a real estate agent in the state of Georgia. So, guys, for all those joining me, let me know in the comments whether you're watching live with me or even the hashtag replay. If you could leave me that in the comments, let me know. Have you ever learned your identity by examining whose you are? Now, if that question stumps you, don't worry about it because I'm going to explain further what I mean, and that will give you better context so you can even share your response with me below. Again, guys, tonight I am so excited to be back with you, but even more excited to share with you this one gem that is on God's heart that He wants me to share with you about learning your identity by examining whose you are. Now, before I get into the meat of tonight, I want to share with you one thing. If you have enjoyed the previous gems that I've given, if these have helped you, if these have encouraged you, I want you to be able to have more access, granted, to more gems like this and even above and beyond. Because as I just mentioned, not only do we have this, but we have our different blogs, we have our podcast exclusively on Patreon. So what I want you to do tonight for me is head over to our Patreon by going to www.patreon.com/fruitful gems. And I'm going to throw that link up here for you to see. Give me 1 second. There it is, scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Not only do we have different offerings over there for you to make sure you get the encouragement and the gems and the nuggets that you need to continue through your journey of life, but we have 3 different tiers that we offer. We offer our Emerald Gems, which is just 33 cents per day. That's it. Less than a cup of coffee. Same with our Sapphire Gems. It's just 66 cents per day. And same with our Diamond Gems. It is literally just $1.33 per day for all that you get over there. And we have offered robust offers over there for you so that you get engagement from us but also amazing and wonderful information as well. So as I said, I placed the link below. Feel free to share this video and information with your friends, but definitely head over to our Patreon by going to the link below, checking out not only our exclusive podcast over there called Polished Gems, where we take you into a deeper dive and even conversation with our contributors here at our blog as well. So guys, now that I've talked about that, let me get into what I'm so excited to share with you guys about tonight. So tonight, let me start by what I always start by. It's giving you background context. So often we look for peace in all the wrong places. Now, here's what's funny about that statement. I was sitting with God, and that's one of the things that he shared with me. And I asked him, well, why do you say that? I feel like a lot of times we try to find peace where we can best find it or whatever seems to fit. Now, what he gave me to look over was my life back in when I had my best accomplishments, when I thought life was really good, going well, things, I was on top of life, in my opinion. So the reason why I say that, or the phrase came from God, that we look for peace in all the wrong places, is because during that time when I was on top, I believed wholeheartedly that my peace came from what I did. My identity was rooted in what I did and not in my character. See, growing up, I was the child who made my parents proud, especially in my eyes, right? In my perspective, I made them proud because during my middle school and high school years, but especially junior and senior year of high school, I did everything from studying Japanese, even had the opportunity to go to Japan, which I took. I have enjoyed that trip and immersed myself even more into the Japanese language. At that time, also between my junior and senior year, I sang in my school choir. And even by doing that and being in position during that time, it afforded me the opportunity to go to New York, which I did with them. I've even sang with Canada. I even sang in Canada with my school choir as well. And then during that season, when I tell you I felt like I was on top of the world, I also danced with my school's dance team while leading our hip hop dancers. When I tell you I thought life, this was it. Life could not get any better for me. Not only that, the school at the time performed one of my favorite musicals, which was Cinderella, but it was not the traditional version of Cinderella, but the one that had originally came out at the time back in around the 2000s, which was had Whitney Houston and Brandy in it. That was the one I really wanted to do because I just love the music in it. I love the composition of it and how lively it was. And it was just a different version of Cinderella that had not really been told on musical theater stage. So when we performed that, I got a chance to be one of the evil stepsisters. And if you could tell by the excitement in my voice, I thought I was on top of the world. So for me, as great as high school happened to be, my first year of college was completely different than everything that you heard me just say. College for me was this new adventure, just like most children who are 18 going from high school into college. And I made the move from California to Georgia, from California State to the state of Georgia. And really and truthfully, I remember getting here to Georgia and going, oh my goodness, these two states are like night and day. They're both entirely different. If you've ever traveled to Georgia, you'll know what I mean. If you've ever traveled to California, you'll know exactly what I mean. Because what's interesting about them is there are different viewpoints. The food is different, their thoughts and practices are different, the people are different, and a lot more was just different. The move, what it did, the move from California to Georgia, what it did was force me into a new experience that I thought I was ready for, but not really. Especially after coming off such a successful season of my life. So for me, the transition was really, really tough. I remember thinking initially, though, here was my thought process and my plan. I was gonna try and duplicate because that year was so successful. That season of my life was so successful. I was going to duplicate it, right? I had my method. At 18, I remember I told myself, I am going to go find me a choir, find me a dance troupe to dance with. I'm going to find me musical theater or any music that I can get into. And that's what I'm going to do in this season. Because if I can duplicate the success of last season, this will be awesome. And college will be a breeze, or at least freshman year will. That was literally my thought process. And so I did literally just that. That was my plan. I went out, tried out for the dance teams, realized I didn't really particularly want to do that type of dancing. So I got into my freshman dorm. They did what's called stepping, and stepping is just a form of percussion dance, basically, where you use your entire body as an instrument with complex rhythm sounds, even spoken words, and it's a mixture of footsteps as well. I enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. And I even looked for plays or musicals or things that really mirrored that previous season. I even went out to try for the my college school choir. And when I tell you, I got to the auditions and I remember hearing the choir sing, I was immediately intimidated. I was so intimidated, in fact, that I was just like, oh no, I don't even think I fit in here. I got intimidated because one, they sounded amazing, but two, it was a different style of music than I was used to. Coming from California, we did literal classical by the note music. When I came to Georgia, there was more of a Southern stylization. And especially for me, for those who may or may not know, I went to a HBCU, which is a historically Black college. So literally going from living in Northern California to coming down south, it was night and day. The music, the way people sing down here, it's almost if you've ever heard old spirituals from what the almost I guess the slaves used to sing is the best way I can describe it. That it is tones like that. There is just a different sound when it comes to music. There's a different spiritualism tied in with the honoring of God when it comes to music. And I loved the sounds that the choir was making. I just was in utter shock. I was in shock because I had not sang in that manner. Not to say that I couldn't have learned it, but I was just sort of in shock coming from California to where I was and just really intimidated, wondering if I would fit in, wondering if I really could do it. Same with the dancing. It was wondering if I could really fit in, if I could do it, if I could excel at it. That was the intimidation that I felt. So for me, with that, I got frustrated. I got flustered. I got upset, in all honesty, with God. Because, like everybody who needs someone to blame when you don't want to look internally at yourself, I blame God. I said, God, I came out here to college and I thought I had heard God right. I started bringing up, I thought I heard you right. I thought you said go to Georgia. Nothing's working out. I think I got so frustrated. My grades started slipping. And I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I told God that I just don't want to live his way anymore. At 18 years old, I literally told God, I don't want to do this your way. I don't want to live your way anymore. And literally removed my identity from him. what he was doing with my identity, what he was helping me understand about my identity, I took all that away because I was just so frustrated. And yeah, just couldn't figure out what I know now, what I've learned now. I wish I could have told my 18-year-old self, just wait, breathe, and ask God the following questions. Because now I've learned I can actually go to God and ask certain questions and it doesn't matter how big or how small. So I want to leave you with this one gem. The one gem for tonight is this: there is peace in finding your identity within God. I'm going to give that to you again. There is peace in finding your identity within God. Now, let me explain. I'm going to make this more plain. So, looking back, like I said, if I could tell my 18-year-old self a couple of things, here's where I realized I made the biggest mistakes. It was believing that God did not care about my frustration when it came to my thoughts of identity. Because I had centered what I did, and to me that meant, because I was so successful my junior and senior year, to be able to do amazing and wonderful things, my identity was so wrapped up tight in those things that when I felt like I was failing my freshman year, I got frustrated. So not taking those cares to God and talking to him about it or asking him more about it, that was one of my biggest mistakes. I'm going to give you another mistake as well. Another mistake I realized as I've gotten older is this: trying to duplicate an old season and shove it into a new one. I don't know about you, but that's what I did at 18. I tried to duplicate a former season when I was in high school into my new season, which was my freshman year of college. God actually told me later that that's not what he wanted me to do. He actually told me what he wanted me to do. He's like, I wanted you to take this major, to go this way, but you didn't ask me. You tried to duplicate a previous season and put it as if it fit in this new season. So for just a quick visual, I always tell people it this way. I tried to stick a circle into a square hole. Okay? I know that wasn't a square with my hand, but I tried to stick a circle into a square hole. Never should I have ever tried to duplicate an old season into a new one. And then my third biggest lesson that I learned was this: wrapping up my peace about who I am into what I did and not into something that would remain more consistent. So let me say that one again. Wrapping my peace up when it came to my identity in what I did and not in something more consistent. How many times have you done that? When you looked at a successful season of your life that you saw as successful and said, that's who I am. I'm the CEO of this company. I'm the manager of this organization, or I'm on the board of this, or I'm on X, Y, or Z, insert whatever. When we wrap it up in what we do, what happens when that gets taken away? Do you still believe you're the person God called you to be? Do you still have peace about your identity? Or does it shift and shake when the different titles are grabbed and removed? Because what we've learned about life, just as there's life, there's death. You can't have one without the other. And just as you have this job one day, remember the time that you didn't have it at all. And even when you get a job, there's always retirement later down the line. So what do we do when our identity is wrapped up in what we actually do and what our titles are? So let's talk about peace and why I brought up peace and looking for it in all the wrong places. What I've learned is this: to heal and rebuild peace in your life, especially one that subdues, you must allow yourself to receive the gift of peace from God and not yield to fear or trouble that stirs up in your heart. Now, let me define a couple of words here to make sure we're also on the same page. Peace is defined as being safe in your mind, your body, or circumstance. It also means to be completed. Now, the word subdues means overcoming, quieting, or bringing under control a feeling or person. So when I say that you have to have a peace that subdues, you need to overcome the opposition, right? So that what happens is you're silenced in your mind, your body, and about a circumstance. Meaning you're not, in my mind, right, getting frustrated or freaking out because I couldn't take it no more, because my identity was wrapped up in what I did. Jacinta was the singer, Jacinta was the artist or the creative. And when those titles were snatched from me, or the dancer, I didn't know what to do. So I was not, my mind, my identity was not at peace anymore. So to achieve this, we must grow in courage to be able to follow through with God's instructions, even when we don't fully understand. This also helps us when it comes to our identity. We learn who God created us to be when we follow through with the instructions that God gives us. Because what He does is build us like building blocks. He gives us one little instruction at a time, and it builds on top of each other so that we see exactly who we are through Him. So when we experience troubles or sorrows, or like me, trying to duplicate an old season, or trying to still hold on to Jacinta the dancer or Jacinta the singer, and insert your name and whatever title you've held on to. When we try to wrap our identity in that, God shows us that if we just come to Him, share our frustration or about our identity, that He can put us on the right path and instruction, giving us the confidence to know that not only can we cast our cares on Him, meaning give Him our cares, but we can also trust Him to guide us to exactly finding out who we were created and even designed to be. So what I want you to take away from this, not only is that your peace about your identity lies within Him, but that no matter what you do, that peace can be within you if you just follow Him, if you learn from Him, because you'll learn more about yourself, just as I have over time. Like that's how I learned about those errors or mistakes that I made and how I could have done it better, because He showed me. He told me what I could have done better. Those 3 things was what I could have done better. So what I also want you to realize is when our identity, as I said, is tied up in what we do or even what we have, we can quickly lose who we are. Our lives change, as I mentioned before, just as the seasons change. And who you are designed to be was ordained by God before you were born. So our identity, no matter what your title, no matter what, how successful you believe you are because of what you've done or what you have, your identity is actually wrapped in what God has said you are, what He's called you to be here on this earth. Because His word says in Jeremiah 29:11, I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you hope and a future. This is how we know our identity is found in Him. So you will always find, as I said, your identity within God. Now, if you lost who you are along the way, I have a solution for you to help you discover who you've been all along And I'll actually be releasing more information about that coming in May. And if you're a part of our Patreon, if you're on our email list, if you're not on any of those things, I encourage you to do so today. But our Patreon members will be getting it before the general public. So I encourage you, if you're not on our Patreon, please go ahead and do so tonight. Go to the link that's in the bottom, Become a Gem, by joining our Patreon at www.patreon.com/fruitful gems. And that's gems spelled Jems, as you see there. So guys, that is it. That is my one gem tonight. I pray that this has actually released pressure off of you when it comes to your identity. I pray that this helps you to see that your identity can be found in God, and just how it can, and how easily it is that we can wrap it up in what we have or what we do. But that's not God's desire. It's God's desire that our identity be wrapped in Him so that we can have peace. We can learn just who we are by understanding whose we are, and we're God's. And as I said, stand on Jeremiah 29:11, where He says that He knows the plans He has for you. And those plans give you a hope and a future. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me for yet another episode of Solitaire Gems. I am so grateful. I pray that you have a wonderful evening. Good night.